South Dakotans knew there was a problem with corruption. I mean, we saw the scandals.
They don't want more accountability. They don't want more transparency.
And there's really not a whole lot that we felt like we could do about it until these measures came along. My name is Doug Kroneisel. I'm from Vermillion, South Dakota, and I'm an organizer with Represent South Dakota.
Daryl Solberg from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and my role is chair of Represent South Dakota. South Dakota has some of the weakest transparency and oversight laws in the nation. I'm not going to let those things go on without me voicing my opinion.
I saw the same news stories as everyone else about these growing scandals in South Dakota, EB5, Gear Up, costing taxpayers millions of dollars and tragically some people their lives. And I knew that South Dakota needed a force to really make sure that the government is representing the people. And that solution came in the form of Initiated Measure 22.
Interesting new law, the Anti-Corruption Act.
Initiated Measure 22, which sets up an ethics commission and cracks down on campaign financing.
Prohibits certain state officials and high-level employees from lobbying until 2 years after leaving government, and it places limitations on lobbyist gifts to certain state officials and staff members. Now that all sounds pretty good, right?
South Dakota voters spoke at the ballot box by passing the so-called Anti-Corruption Act, or Initiated Measure 22.
I was elated, and I don't want to sound cocky, but it was not a surprise to me.
Obviously this would pass. South Dakotans are fed up with this. I mean, we've had nothing but an endless barrage of scandal after scandal, improprieties, issues like that. Of course the voters would demand change when the legislature is refusing to do anything about it.
1069 made it through the full House this afternoon. It would repeal Initiated Measure 22.
How, you might ask, has the Republican-led legislature of South Dakota responded? They are declaring a state of emergency. I'm not kidding.
Unfortunately enough, I couldn't say that I was surprised.
Good evening. The question tonight is, did you mean it when you voted IM-22 into law? Lawmakers filed a lawsuit against the state to block it, saying it was unconstitutional.
The legislature cannot deem anything unconstitutional. That is up to a court.
It was pointed out that a number of legislators voting on it were themselves party to the lawsuit.
Members of this august body have in fact a recorded and documented conflict of interest.
So now they're voting on a bill that would repeal a law that would end the lawsuit that they're spending their own money on.
It was not a surprise, but the excuses they used were pretty flimsy.
I've not heard of one bribe. I've not seen one bribe.
Where you've got wads of money being given under the table and you got gold watches. Well, he doesn't have a gold watch and he doesn't have a gold watch.
We've already heard that we don't get stacks of cash, we don't get gold watches, we don't get elaborate trips on taxpayer dollars. That's just doesn't happen here.
Peters used $20,000 in taxpayer money to travel to see out-of-state lobbyists. She says she doesn't know how the group came up with that $20,000 figure. It was taken from a 2013 Kettleman News report.
Respect our vote! Respect our vote! Respect our vote!
I mean, the condescension and arrogance that voters were feeling coming out of Pierre was palpable.
House Bill 1069, having received a 2/3 majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed.
And then they told us that they would respect the will of the voters. They told us that they would respect the intent of IM-22 and offered up these replacement bills.
They would go through the motions and present some watered-down bills trying to convince the public they were doing their job.
We're going to take some of the good ideas and hopefully fix them.
Supporters of the original initiated measure say the new legislation isn't strong enough and lawmakers are going against what voters want.
Yeah, so the legislators did introduce and they did pass an accountability board. It has some powers, but it only oversees the executive branch. The legislature exempted themselves from its oversight.
It's going to be overseen by the Secretary of State, and they can replace people on the Ethics Commission at will.
And the person who appoints all members of the board is the governor. who's the head of the executive branch.
I think it's a facade.
And these replacement bills were garbage.
One of the things that really torqued me off was when they pulled this gold watch stunt.
It blew me away. 10 days after repealing anti-corruption law passed by the voters, they're either too insulated to understand what it was that the voters were feeling, or they just didn't care, both of which are troubling, to say the least. South Dakota's Constitution is a document for the people and by the people. It's meant to protect the people and our laws. And what we're doing is we're asking the voters if they want to add this new layer of protection to that document.
It really protects the voters of the state and the integrity of the state. Things are not going to get better by themselves. We need concerned people to say, we want to make things better for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren. We want people to have faith in their state government.
If you're upset and you want our government to start working for you, join us.